Hi, and welcome back to It's a Foster Care Thing. My name is Erin. I am so excited that you have joined our channel and follow along with our journey as we relicense as foster parents in our greatest hope to adopt through the Texas Child Protective Services system. So if you are a brand new couple or single person who is desiring to become a foster parent or a straight adopt parent, you have come to the right place. Here, I try to do everything I can to provide useful and meaningful information that will empower you, and it will also provide you different insights and perspectives on how to thrive and not just survive as a foster parent and soon to be adoptive parent. Over the next several weeks, I'm going to be taking you through a different series of how-tos and why and what. All of the different questions that we have when we enter the foster care and adoption system. We want to understand how we can meet these children where they're at. We want to also understand what trauma is, but more importantly, as people who may not be very familiar with foster care or adoption through the state services, we have a lot of questions, we have a lot of fears, and there are a lot of concerns for the family and friends that surround us, wondering, how does this work and how will this impact everyone that's involved? And how will you, as the people that they care most about, how will this impact both of you or one of you? So I hope for the next several weeks, as I begin to discuss a allotment of subjects, that you guys will take really great meaning from what I'm trying to provide, because the information that I'm providing is not just from my husband and I's point of view and our personal experience. They're also a collection from other people's experience. In today's video, I'm going to discuss the top 3 ways of how to survive as a beginning foster parent. Now, this is not to say that there are not other ways of surviving. Those will be listed in other videos to come. But these are the top 3 things that if you are starting your journey right now, you and your spouse or just you alone, this is crucial to really start keeping in mind. And I would say there are probably 7 reasons and 7 how-tos, but today I just want to talk about the first 3. Okay, number 1. You need to have a very, very strong and solid emotional support system. You need to have a village. You have to have a support network. Okay, so how does this work? Your agency, or if you're going directly through your state, which may be called Family Protective Services or Child Protective Services. They may require you, either agency or state agency, they may require you to have a babysitter. If they don't, I recommend, in fact, I would put that as a requirement. Please, please, please go through whatever resources you feel most comfortable with. We went through care.com. I will provide the link below in the description box. But every state is different. You guys may have your own babysitter / nanny finding service, and that's perfectly fine. You may even know people at your place of worship. You just may know someone in your family who you absolutely trust and has all the time in the world to come and be there for you and your spouse, or for you with your new foster placement. Whatever your situation is, it is vital to have someone certified for your home. Why is that? Because having that extra pair of hands, even if you just have one foster child, having that extra pair of hands makes the biggest difference. I can honestly tell you, one of the many reasons why my husband and I had to disrupt our first placement was because we did not know that what the benefit was, and that we had the ability and the right to have designated people certified for our home. What does certified mean? That's going to depend on your state agency or the private or public agencies in your state. Here in Texas, they provide you paperwork for background checks. They may even require that person to go through an FBI fingerprint check. They may even require that person to become CPR first aid certified and also take a certain amount of online or in-person classes to make sure that they're able to provide quality care for that child. Every state is different, every agency is different. So however you decide, with whomever you decide to license with or start that process with, please find out from them what their frequent visitor requirements are or their babysitting requirements are. Frequent visitors and babysitters, they can actually mean the same thing, but in some agencies, it's not. This is why it's vital for you to write these questions down. Do you guys have frequent visitor requirements? Do you have babysitter requirements? What are your do's and don'ts for a frequent visitor and a babysitter? I wish to every fiber of my being that we had known these questions years ago and even last year when we fostered 3 girls. And we still made mistakes because we didn't fully understand what that one particular agency's expectations were and requirements were for having a care provider coming into our home and assisting us with 3 children in our home. So whether you have one foster child placed or a sibling group, which can be 3 or more, it is really important to have that extra pair of hands. If you want family and friends to be able to come over, they're probably going to have to go through the same journey and requirements that a frequent visitor or a babysitter per your agency or state agency requirements are. So please, please, please make sure that you ask these questions when you're going through the how do we get started process and the orientation process of your agency. The second one is you need to understand trauma. If Sean and I had understood trauma years ago, we would have made very different decisions on the placements that we did take in and we wouldn't have taken in. That's not to say that we regret having those children in our life and having experience with them and exposure to them, but we would have made different decisions that would have probably not complicated other situations down the line for us. Understanding trauma is essential to knowing how do we understand these children where they're coming from, how do we meet them where they're at, how do we understand how to help ourselves and how to process the information that we're being exposed to. You're probably wondering what information could we be possibly exposed to. When these children, especially when they're more verbal and they're more cognizant of what's going on or what has happened, they're going to share things with you. And that comes with time and trust. But as that time and trust builds, which is a good thing, by the way, you want the child to trust you. You want them to build that relationship with you. Because as a foster parent, you are there to provide temporary home and safety to the child while the child's family or biological parents try to work their plan per the judge and court order. But as a straight adopt parent, this is also equally, if not even more so important. Because these children, if you are a straight adopt parent, these children are your forever children. It would be as if you were able to have your own kids. And if any of your children that you had been able to have biologically had any challenges or issues that required your special attention, you probably would have gone above and beyond in understanding whatever that challenge or issue is. Trauma care is just like that. So I'm going to provide another link down below in the description box for the Empowered to Connect program. It is by the Karen Purvis Institute at Texas Christian University. I'm sure every state has all sorts of phenomenal training for trauma-informed care. Here in Texas, I cannot speak highly enough for the Empowered to Connect program. This is a wonderful, wonderful program that provides videos, articles, books, other resources, and even a phenomenal podcast that you guys can tune into every week. I do. I absolutely love it. I even get upset when I don't hear the Empowered Parent podcast come on, and I'm like, no! These are wonderful resources because it helps put a lot in perspective in your mind. It helps teach you alternative ways of not just working with these children, but learning how to love them where they're at, to learn a different love language, also to understand the challenges and the triggers and what PTSD and trauma are for all people of all walks of life. It is truly life-altering. Informing yourself about trauma is the absolute most important resource and gift you can give to yourself. All right, the final 3 is you have to really advocate for 2 people. And this might sound a little confusing. You have to advocate for the children but you also have to advocate for yourself. This is going to tie into some of the terms that you guys have probably seen, such as when you go online and you join these online communities, when you join a support group. That's part of the number one, building your support network, build your village, join a support group. But when you begin to interact with other foster and adoptive parents, they're going to talk about self-care. They're going to talk about advocating for these children. When you advocate for your child, we'll start with them first. When you advocate for the child that is placed in your home, you're doing everything you can to make sure that that child has all the resources available to them. If you don't feel like the Child Protective Service caseworker is really understanding or focusing on the child's needs, or perhaps the CASA worker is fully aware of what's going on with the child, or the teachers or the counselors or anybody else that becomes involved in the child's life, you become that little person's guardian. You have medical right over that child while they are in your home. And so you have to think about, what does this child need? What can I do to truly benefit this child's life? And above all, what services can I provide for this child? Whatever you observe, gut feelings you may get, or questions you may have, this is your time to really rise above and shine and make that voice that's not able to talk as much, which is your child that's placed in your home, make that voice your own and make that voice heard. Talk to the caseworker, talk to your agency, talk to the lawyer that's assigned to the child's case. Talk to the CASA worker, which is a child volunteer or a child advocate volunteer that may or may not be assigned to the child's case. It depends on the state. Talk to the counselor or counselors at your school. Talk to the teachers at your child's school. Get involved in trying to help make sure that your child has every single thing that he or she could possibly need to literally thrive. The next thing is you want to advocate is for yourself. This is where self-care comes into play. Self-care is crucial because during this time, as you are advocating, you are reading and learning and researching all sorts of educational resources. You're also involving yourself in the community by going to support groups, involving yourself online with support groups, or just in general doing everything that you can to be as involved in this case as possible. You've probably heard the term caregiver burnout. Self-care is crucial for every foster and adoptive parent. You guys have to take care of yourself. You have to meet your needs. The most ironic and comical part of all of this that I have learned for the last few years is when you learn about the Empower to Connect program, when you learn about trauma and trauma-informed care and how to meet these children where they're at, you're trying to figure out how to better that child's life. But during that entire process, you're dealing with that child's trauma. You're dealing with the horrific stories that they're going to share with you. You're dealing with their temper tantrums, behavioral outbursts, any school problems, medical complications, or just basic illnesses that happen. You're dealing with it all. You're tired because you're going to be dealing with a lot of sleep issues, food issues, and emotional issues. These are all very normal. This happens to every single child in foster care or children who are in foster care but able to be adopted. You're dealing with all of these all the time, 24/7. It's being a parent, but the volume's turned up a lot louder. This is why self-care is really important. This is why having that support network, that village, that certified babysitter or frequent visitor to come into your home, this is where it's really crucial for you. You and your spouse, or you as a single soon-to-be parent, you guys can rely on each other or rely on a friend, but you need more than just the one. You need people to be able to bring you meals. You need people to be able to come over and watch the child or children for a few hours while you step out of the house. Maybe go to the grocery store. Maybe go for a walk in the park. Or perhaps just go to a coffee shop. You need to also feel comfortable with trusting your child. You need to be comfortable with trusting your child to go to a Mother's Day Out program or daycare or even a drop-off daycare. Every state, every city and every county has different resources available to you. You also need to be very comfortable with bringing your child to like an indoor playground place or one of those little bouncy houses where you can let them run around and you can keep your eyes on them, but perhaps you can sit in a comfy chair, read a book, listen to some music. Have some time where you're able to have a little bit of space and time from your child. This isn't to say that I'm trying to encourage any kind of emotional neglect. Not whatsoever. But we all need to make sure that we focus on our essential needs, which is rest, nutrition, hydration, also socialization. Spending time with friends and allowing you and your child to have a little break is actually a good thing, because when you guys come together, you'll be able to connect that much better and that much deeper. I hope this was helpful for you guys today. Thank you so much to all of our brand new subscribers. Thank you so much for joining our channel and joining our journey. I look forward to seeing you guys next week, where we begin to discuss how do we make a decision on a foster care placement when we get the call. All right, guys, thank you so very much. It was so great seeing you guys again, and I will see you next week. Bye.